Hi, and welcome to the third series of the Fancy a Brew podcast, talking about adventure, pushing your boundaries, and chasing dreams of underwater exploration. The podcast is supported by Dive Life Scuba Diving Centre, the one-stop shop for all your recreational and technical dive gear and training needs, boasting a 5-star service and their own in-house gas blending and equipment servicing department. For more information, take a look at their website, divelife.co.uk, or on Instagram and Facebook. In this series, I'm going to be chatting to some of the divers I've met along my scuba dive adventures in the last couple of years, ranging from boat skippers, stunt performers, and underwater explorers. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, grab yourself a brew, sit back, and enjoy this week's episode. All right, so Bob Anderson, I want to call you my friend, Bob Anderson. Welcome to Fancy a Brew podcast. Whether we're friends or not, I don't know. We're acquaintances.
Works for me.
So if you want to give us a little bit of a sort of an intro to who you are and perhaps what, if people don't know you, who you are, why I might have had you on, and then we'll just see where the conversation goes.
I suppose I get here through longevity, really. So I guess I started diving. I think I was 16 or 17 when I was like that kid in the pool that wants to have a shot.
Yeah.
And you know, when you take your first breath, it's like, and you can't quite believe it or go in, and then that regulator cracks. And that was me hooked. So
Wicked.
like, I think everything I've done since then is just that moment in time when you just kind of look around, you think, put me it works. You know what I mean? This thing gives me air down here, and you have a little look about. You think, I never quite got over that feeling. So I suppose here we go, 50 years later, or 40 years later, so still wondering. Yeah. And, well, I think it's good. I think one of the things is this, doing this job, you kind of get a seat at the table, and then you look around the table, and it's like you've all arrived with your mates, and you're looking around, you think, bloody hell, look, we're all here, we're all having a bit of a laugh. And none of us, we're all kids at the end of the day, you know what I mean? We've just got here because, I don't know, we're just mucking around, and you just end up with your mates at the end of the day. That's great.
Yeah. So what is your table? It's the captain's table. That's a bit of a
no, it's not. It's not.
One, isn't it?
I think that's wrong because it's not about. It's not that sense of. It's not an elitist kind of place.
No.
It's just like, you know. It's like meeting you, for example. Like if I wasn't sat in this chair, I wouldn't be sat talking to you.
Yeah.
And yet you're talking to someone else, and then you're talking to someone else, and then you just kind of there's this kind of rarefied atmosphere of people that are doing a lot of diving and have been around a little bit. And it's just a conversation that evolves. And I think, I mean, it's quite fortuitous that you're doing that sense of looking back and inspiring people and kind of trying to bring people on. Because you get to that kind of age, well, I'm 52 now, and you're looking behind you and you're looking at the journey I've had. You think, it would be great if someone followed me through that and just did their thing behind me. So you just try and facilitate that. And you kind of like, I've had my bite at the apple, you know what I mean? I've not done everything I want to do, but like I'm on my end game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just kind of highlight this world that people can kind of navigate through and just find their own way, and you just try and facilitate it, just try and make it easy for them, and just kind of show them some of the stuff that they can do.
Well, that kind of is how we met through Kieran. Obviously, he put me on to you, and I had spoke about you, or someone had spoke about you on this podcast a long while back. I think it was Rich Walker talking about how he developed Ghost Fishing UK through you and stuff. But that resonates the conversation me and you did have when I came to work for you. That you know you'd been given opportunities, and it was now sort of your turn to give other people, and you gave me the chance to come on your boat, work for a week. It was eye-opening. I'm not gonna.
I think even more important than that, you were doing that wet thing, that Project Wet.
Yeah.
You think, right, here's someone that's really kind of engaging with Scottish diving. So you kind of put yourself forward, and you think, well, I've got a bit of experience in some of these. So I remember, like, we had that conversation. You're going, I'll go and do this with Loch Arran and and you're like, well, actually, do this, but be careful of that. And it's that's how it works. So you kind of like, I've got a little bit of knowledge, and you were just starting down on that kind of project. Think, right, here's someone you can help. You can kind of move them on their way, and that's what it's about, really. And that's kind of why that's why we're having this conversation now in many ways. So Kieran, you kind of cross Kieran's path. You think, well, Kieran's there thinking this guy's going to go somewhere with a bit of enthusiasm and a bit of kind of adventure. And he goes, "Oh, send it Bob's way." I just pass you across my desk, you know. I think you got like this ball, you just spin it and send it on its way. And as long as it keeps going, as long as it keeps rolling, you know, it'll gather a bit of gather a bit of momentum. And that's what you do with everyone that comes across. You just kind of like, oh, look, he's got a bit of excitement. Like, I think he'll enjoy that. So you off down that one. Someone else will enjoy this. And, yeah, there you go.
So to add a bit of meat to the bones, Bob is the owner of Halton Charters. He now charters the boat called Clasina, which I went to work out on last summer because he needed a bit of holiday relief for one of his crew. How are you doing for crew for this coming year? Are you sorted?
Well, I had a bit of a thing at Christmas, so I got this couple lined up, and I was really looking forward to them working for us because well, the lass had worked for us before, but he's a lovely lad as well, and it was just, I thought, you know, when you can kind of sleep at night knowing you've got things covered, and then for whatever reason, the stuff that they put in place to allow them to kind of take a year off was kind of collapsed. So then I was left flailing. But now I've picked it up again, and I think I'm back on good ground.
Nice.
But I think one of the things with the Clasina is it's a different world. It's kind of, it sounds a bit ostentatious to call it a bit of a ship, but we're not. We're into that place where you need a crew of 3 with +1, and what that kind of gives is that opportunity to, well, you need relief, you need kind of weeks off, so with a hardcore of 3, you can kind of get people coming and going, and like, it's everyone's bit of a dream is to come and do a week's work. It's a bit of adventure. Everyone kind of likes that kind of stuff. So what I try and do is keep that rotation, keep that crew going, and like, it's a brutal year. Like, I think I'll start first week in March, and I'll go through till 3rd week in November, and that is how many weeks it is, back to back, just banging out every day. So you just got to keep people fresh. We're working with people the whole time, so you have to keep fresh yourself. You have to kind of, remember, it's only a week to the people that come, but it's an important week, you know what I mean? So, yeah. And I think that's the reason for embracing people like yourself. You come and you add a bit of enthusiasm to the day, add a bit of whatever. So it's good. It's a good mechanism. So if anyone wants a job, bring me up. Or don't ring me. Send me an email. And if you're shit, I'll ignore you.
So how do you sort of recharge? Because I'm on the go all the time, as you know. I'm like the Duracell bunny, and I'm doing one thing on the next thing and the next thing. And I've had like all today. I went swimming this morning, but I've had literally all day on the couch doing nothing till we're talking with you now. So I've recharged today quite easily. But you're not. You'll go home as soon as like you finish sorting the boat out. That's if you're on side. You'll come back first thing in the morning and you're straight back into it with no relief for you that I've seen.
Some of the weeks that we're doing on the North Coast, the main engine put on 70 hours in the week. So if you think, some of them, like the boat is moving. Well, it's not moving, but you know what I mean? There's an engine running or something running. So it's exhausting. So you do have to kind of pull back sometimes. And I think, like, sometimes I just sit my head below the parapet, do that tortoise thing, and no one can get hold of me for love nor money. And it's just that kind of, recharging. Let's get that buffering. I'm just going to sit here and buffer for a bit longer.
Ace.
So, it's like Scarlet Pimpernel. You can just disappear for a bit, and then like no one can reach you. Back again. I was never gone for long.
So, do you want to give us a bit of your story then? How you became, you know, what you to the point what you're doing now, and what sort of was the draw to do what you're doing now? If like you said, you've done most of the things you've always wanted to do.
It's not strictly true, but I'll come back to it. So I did marine zoology at Bangor, and it was I was a bit of a lazy student myself, a bit lazy. So imagine going through that university thing, and you get to Z because everything else is shit. You know what I mean? Like, marine science, no, then zoology, okay, and then you go through zoology, and then there's marine zoology right at the end. I think, well, I've got to choose something, and I'm not going back to the start again. So where does marine zoology? Bangor. That's nice and easy. Everyone else kind of wanted top grades, whereas Bangor's kind of your B's and C's and D's. So, I'll go there. I'll just swim around a bit and have an easy 3 years and pop out into the world and get a job. But it didn't really. I got quite taken by it, actually. It was just one of those things that came easy to me. So, and I'm a bit lazy with it. So anyway, I came out at the end of it. Anyway, like when I left, I kind of took this wrong turn somehow, and I ended up just, I don't know, in the middle of nowhere, not really doing anything. And I got fired. And it was this seminal moment. It was just like, oh, better do something now. So I then applied to do this thing at Heriot Watt in Orkney. And it was another marine science course. It was kind of master's course. It was a bit grandiose again, but basically I was looking for something to do. So I ended up there, and it was just this game changer that turn things around. So when I've been an undergrad, it's really hard to get into diving as an undergraduate. And I remember going through that fair on day one, and you're like, the membership for the club was like 150 quid or something. And then you've got to spend 100 quid on you've got to remember this is 30 years ago, so 100 whatever quid was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to do it. So actually, I then went to the stall next door, and the stall next door was caving. And all you needed was a pair of wellies and overalls, which was like 30 quid. So I ended up caving and climbing for 3 years. And and I thought it's a bit of a West opportunity. So by the time I got to Orkney, I'd saved up, and I was back in the game with like kit and suit. And so I got to Orkney and I really hit the ground running. And there's a few folk in Orkney that really started me out. So, Andy on the June Lane, and the Dougie used to earn the Sunrise. And there's a couple of people there. We're all of that machine that needs crew, needs help, needs kind of stuff. So, they kind of took me on. And then you do that fucking dive nutty thing, don't you? You're just like, scuba diving, it's great, mate. I have to go every day. Do a bit of painting. Can we go diving now? Off you go. Do a bit more diving. And it never stopped, really. So, yeah.
So how did you end up getting a boat? Because it's not like an easy undertaking. I've looked at buying a rib in the past, and I think, when am I going to store it? How much am I going to use it? What am I going to get from it? It's a big undertaking for me because I don't really live near the sea. So the actual likelihood of needing it versus wanting it. But you live near the sea, didn't you? Like around the corner.
Well, to be fair, it's an exercise in complete naivety to me. So I've got no background in the sea whatsoever. There was a boat, bought it, and just work out how to use it. So I remember sitting in the engine room, looking at this guy, and I wonder, hope that doesn't break, because not very good with engines.
Jeez.
Off you went, and you just learn, because you have to learn. You know what I mean? That engine's got to run, so you just have to be on top of all that. And then when I bought the Clasina was a bigger step up again. So like the generator on the Clasina is bigger than the main engine on the Halton. And I remember sitting in the engine room. There's 4 engines on this boat. Didn't have a clue how to start any of them. What the fuck have I done? It's like a big cathedral down there. Big yellow beast in the middle of the room. Anyway, there's this engineer who stood on the pier one day, and I was looking over, and I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this one. And this guy comes on, do you need an engineer? And I went, no, maybe I do, actually. He goes, oh. I said, do you know anything about engines? And he was like this old boy that just retired, was looking for something to tinker with.
Really?
So I was like, hey, come and have a look at this. And he was brilliant, you know what I mean? He got me going. And he lives in Macduff. And he's got COVID at the moment, so he would be down the boat. He's like scratching away at the door to get down, but he needs his test to clear. But he got me started. And then when you're doing that thing where you're trying to get this boat out of the harbour, you're like, not quite driven something in this, as long as you don't hit anything, you're okay.
Yeah.
So the hard bit's getting out of the harbour, because it's a tiny harbour in Macduff, and then once you're out, you're in the middle of the sea. It's not easy to hit anything in the middle of the sea. They offer you have a little shot, and there you go, get in, got home. You went, make it up as you go along.
If I went to buy like the Halton off you now, if it was fully working, I could just take it out. Could I just buy it and scotch off?
Yeah. So there's 2 different worlds here. So if you're non-commercial, you can buy anything. You can buy the Titanic and set off to sea on your own, quite happily.
Yeah.
As soon as you start taking passengers, then you start to come into quite a strict regime. So you need to have the safety equipment, obviously. You need to have your personal tickets. You need to have there's quite a lot of stuff in the background. So it's all the stuff of taking care of people. But fundamentally, you're responsible for everyone on the boat. And that's quite a serious responsibility. And you have to value it. You have to value the people that you've got, and you have to value their health and welfare. So all those kind of things take time to work through. I mean, you see the books all behind me. That's all stuff that's like at working hours and VHF safety protocols and whatever. It's all there behind us, and you have to you have to have a reasonable knowledge of how to navigate that, because like you have to avoid the problem, and then if you get the problem, you have to sort it. So that weighs heavily. It's a big responsibility.
What sort of difficulties as a boat operator, day to day or over the year, are you sort of generally
thinking?
facing?
That's the main thing. When the water gets to there,
Tell the band to stop.
When the room goes quiet and everyone looks at you, and you think, "Fuck, this is serious now," because no one else has got an idea what to do. They're all looking at you, and you're like, "Oh well, see if there's a big rabbit in this hat down here. Put out another white rabbit. Off you go again."
Because like now you've moved from the Orkneys, haven't you? You've moved down to Macduff, and you've had it like. How'd you get it up the slip? Have they craned it up, or did they drag it up on rollers, or what?
It goes on this trolley.
Yeah.
So the slip is literally 45 degrees or whatever it is. You steam onto a trolley, and then they pull the trolley off, and then they side slip. So it's like one of those things. You wonder how all these things are ever done, but it only takes them an hour. The boys do it every day. You know what I mean? So it's not a big job for them.
So that's just a routine sort of winter maintenance.
Yeah, once a year they take it out of the water, fresh wash it, and there you go.
So you got some holes cut in it. You were saying about your engine. You can see your engine bay now. So what you doing?
Yeah. You've got to get all the bits that you can't get to ordinarily. So there's a number of things that you can't service when it's in the water. So all the things like the anodes, for example, they're all on the side that stop the boat corroding. And then the seacocks are basically the valves in the hull that let the water into the engine or whatever. So they've all been removed. Will get serviced so that you know they're all working. And then they get put back on, and then the integrity of the hull's reinstated, and off you go.
Is that for like on my car? I've got a radiator full of water, and it's coolant. So the seawater's getting dragged in to cool your engine and then thrown out. Is that what that's doing?
So if you imagine your radiator is air cooled, so the water from your engine goes through the radiator.
Yeah.
The air from the outside goes through the radiator, cools that water. So on a boat, rather than it being air cooled, it's seawater cooled. So imagine the front of your car imagine driving through seawater, basically.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. You suck in seawater from outside, put it through the radiator, and dump it through the other side.
Right.
So all those things need to be maintained. So like there's a survey day one, the surveyor comes down and goes, attend to this. So if you imagine that flow of seawater, it's pretty simple. So the hole's normally what I'm showing you, a thing of about 3 inches round. That just grows with muscles. So just taking all the muscles out of it. And then the cooler, which is the radiator, we just pressure wash that. It's got half a beach in it, and like, you know what I mean? And you just all that stuff's got to come out. So it's interesting when you see it. You just think everyone's working away quietly, but actually, when you take it apart, there's literally like half the North Sea mud in the middle of this cooler, which is like it just gets in there, and you just look after it.
So how do you keep excited, Bob? I mean, I know when I turned up, you were dead excited. I know that, and I see the smile on your face after the time I was there. You know, maybe because of
the other half,
this furrowed brow. But I mean, like, what keeps you? Because I don't know if I could maintain that kind of focus from like the beginning of March through to mid-November, just full on the same day in, day out with new people. You know, there's got to be something that just keeps. What excites you?
I think the people make it. You know, it's just that thing about like you imagine the week you had.
Yeah,
like, it's a good laugh, isn't it? And then like you've been a couple of times, so the second time you had your missus and your mate with you as well. Yeah. It was a different dynamic, wasn't it?
Totally.
And you just got that fucking banter going the whole time, a bit of a laugh, and that's what keeps you going, isn't it? Just keeps it fun, doesn't it? And everyone comes, and everyone like arrives on day one. And like, don't get me wrong, like when they arrive, 9 times out of 10, I've tried to have a bit of a Saturday off or whatever, and you got a hangover because like everyone went out and pissed on Friday.
Yeah.
And you got this new lot, they're all like puppies ready to go again. They're wagging their tails. And you just like, fuck me, oh, here we go again, off you go. But like, it's like just like kids, isn't it? You feed on that excitement. And like, so you should. Because it is good. It's fun, isn't it? It's nice. It's nice.
I like on your dive briefs where you'd be like proper straight about it, you know, this was this and that was that. And then you'll just drop the F-bomb in the middle of it. And then you're like some proper sarcastic, witty banter straight back, and it's like wow, and the whole room picks up from being like really concentrated and focused to like oh, we're having a laugh again. Like, you know, they said about being kids, and it makes it fun.
I think the best part is like, well, I'm not so much new groups anymore. So new groups, you gotta. It's not everyone's cup of tea. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like,
you got to play to your audience, haven't you?
yeah, if people don't want your banter, well, I'm not there to. I'm not there to bully people or pick on people. That's not what it's about. So you just got to kind of play the field a bit. But by the time people have come back a few times, people want it. You know what I mean? They're firing at you. And you know what? You got to put it back again. It's like I don't know, if you're on stage and someone's heckling you, you can't let them get better at you. You know what I mean? You feed it off it as well. So like people are thinking about this, oh, get that fuck out. So they say this, and they fire it at you. Bang! Right, have some.
Yeah.
And there's always somebody who just like, it's a bit of a challenge, isn't it? You just kind of, it keeps it fresh. It keeps it exciting.
Yeah.
Always...
I was gonna say I did enjoy the sort of repertoire that you and Ben had against me, like all the time. It was like one would be just drop a little hint, and the next one would be like firing a shot over my bow, and then firing out. I'm like, fucking hell.
Well, I think the other thing is like, you've got to be careful with the three of us. Like if you start digging at each other, you know what I mean? It spirals. So what you actually got to do is gang up and pick on the punters. Otherwise, you just end up chewing at each other. You got to be quite careful on that one. But there's always something that comes along.
Yeah.
There was this lass I had on the boat. So she was, I suppose, early to mid 20s, and I'd taken her right out. So the rocks out west, there's 75 miles. There's Sulstack, the Sula skirt, and so on and so forth. Now, anything with Sula on it is named after gannets. So if it's gannets on it, that's the kind of name. So Sulska is Gannet Rock, effectively, if you translate it kind of Gaelic or whatever, derivative. So we're on the way there, and I said to the people, like, you know where we're going? Everyone goes, yeah, we're going to Sulska. I said, well, do you know why it's called Sulska? And everyone's like, ooh. And this lass goes, oh, I know what Sula is. I go, go on then, tell me what Sula is. He goes, sweaty upper lip alert. There's a whole generation gap. It's just, you know, it's not often everyone fucking floored me. I don't have a comeback to that whatsoever. So we're going to sweaty upper lip alert island. Very good. You ignore all these fucking birds flying around and all the rest of it. The Sula Basanova or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Sweaty upper lip alert. There you go.
Oh, amazing.
But my daughter understood that one. Like, she's 22 now. She goes, yeah, that's a thing, apparently. Sula, sweaty upper lip alert.
I must be of your generation. I have not.
Yeah, exactly.
I will be asking after, though.
You go and ask Ali. She'll go, yeah, that was good friend.
Probably, yeah. I think she's more on the age of worrying about a hurry upper lip alert. Never mind a sweaty one.
Don't you be dragging that woman down, poor lass. She's lovely, and you know it.
I know. I'm well punching. I know that. So obviously, I've been on with you twice now. So I've been on 2 different sort of trips.
What you're saying is the first of many trips, is what you're trying to say.
Well, it'll be the second because I've been on twice, and I worked and been a punter as such. But what would you say makes you different? Do you have like a USP? I'm not trying to big up Halton Charters here, because you asked me never to do that. You just tell it how it is. But I mean, like, I've not been with anybody else up that way, so I don't know. Do they do the trips here and there? And do you want to tell us a bit about the kind of trips you do run?
Well, I think, like, if you take the industry as a whole within the UK, everyone's kind of got these little niches and little nooks and crannies. So I know you take Al Wright, for example. He's kind of he got started in the North Island. He's facilitated the kind of Normandy stuff, and now is we've got Sea Leopard. So you've got a man there that's kind of really made a bit of a range, found some wrecks, kind of really got some exciting diving off the back. I mean, you can pick a load of people out there. You kind of got the Bob Joneses on the West Coast, and I mean, my formative ones. Andy on the Gina Lane, for example. There's a man that's covered a bit of range, does the pretty significant expeditions. You see my forebears. All these people have added to this kind of big canon of diving, and I think it's important to be part of that. Although you have to find your own way in it, but I think you bring an individuality to that range of diving. And I think when you see that broad spectrum of what the UK has to offer, and more particularly to me, what Scotland's got to offer, you just have to showcase that. And I think that's the skill in a good skipper. It's just all you're doing is holding up this kind of panorama to people, just to go and have a look at, to go and explore. And I think actually the amount of work I do is pretty minimal, really. You know what I mean? I just take the boat out and then throw them over the side. And then you're in this world that's fantastic. And you just got to showcase it. You just got to showcase and exhibit this world. And as soon as people are immersed in it, they get hooked on it. And then you can kind of, with a bit of knowledge of where you're taking people as well, you can kind of, well, this is different to here. This is, like, but just, we mentioned Solstack, for example, Solskjaer. That's high energy diving. So imagine being out there now. You just wouldn't want to be out there. There's waves going over the top of it. You know what I mean? It's just the worst place in the world. Go on a calm day, best place in the world. You know what I mean? Absolute best place in the world. So when the wave's going over that rock, you want to be in this kind of low energy environment where you're sheltered. In which case, what do you get? You get these sick, claggy muds with sea pens, and you think, well, there's a beauty in there as well. You know what I mean? And all you got to do is be in the right place at the right time and show people what's there. And it's just incredible. It's an incredible world. And it's as simple as that sometimes.
I mean, the first trip I did with you, and we went over to those sort of northwesterly isles, and it was very flat, and we were swimming around the boat in the afternoon, diving off the platform, who'd have known, and going on to North Rona, and having an explore, that was probably more to me than getting in the water.
No one would book a trip. If I said, right, come on, I'm going to take you to North Rona, North Rona, oh, let's go diving. You go, oh, yeah, I'll come diving. I understand that. But then we go to North Rona, and then here you are now saying, oh, the best bit of it was going up to that lighthouse on the top, or we've seen a minke whale come up, or all those gannets going round Suliska on the other side. Yeah. And like, we met the pelican at Suliska, didn't we? So you came round and you were coming the other way. And you think you're in that world, but you wouldn't want to be there now, would you?
No.
Like, in all honesty. No,
mate, it was bad enough in the flow in October, if you remember. It was coming over the side then.
But you know what? I mean, that's part of that world, that energy that must hit it, that destroys stuff. If things can thrive in that, you know what I mean? That's something really important. I think the big thing for me is, like, you see on the beaches at the start of the winter storms, there's that mountain of kelp. Now, you imagine how much sunlight and all the rest of it, how much energy has been stuck in plants and then gets washed up the beach. And you just think that regenerates every year. The power in that environment is just phenomenal. And there you are, diving it just at the point where it's at max. There's fish everywhere, there's stuff everywhere. And you just swim around like a mermaid in love going, oh, it's lovely. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, how easy is that? Or you just shout, jump, and then they go and swim around with this.
Just quickly going to interrupt this interview for a word about our sponsors. So the Fancy a Brew podcast is supported by Dive Life Scuba Diving Centre, your one-stop shop for all the recreational and technical dive gear and training needs based out of the UK. They boast a 5-star service with their own in-house gas blending and equipment servicing department. Not only do they have the biggest well-known brands such as Halton, Santee, X-Deep and Fourth Element, but they're also helping to promote new and up-and-coming brands reach their full potential. With a long-standing instructional career, Ollie van Overbeek has developed a community of divers through his store's club memberships, offering fantastic discounts on trips and training and equipment. The team at Dive Life teaches everything from open water to advanced Trimix rebreather courses, or even if you want to become an instructor, no matter what your diving aim, they can help. So for more information, take a look at their website, divelife.co.uk, or find them on Instagram and Facebook. And for a 10% discount on internet sales, use promotional code ATND10 at the checkout. Unfortunately, this isn't usable on any already discounted products. So next time that you're looking around for training or kit, give Dive Life a click. And now let's get back onto this episode. I think last time I spoke to you, you hadn't been in the water all year, had you? Maybe they were in October, and then a load of photos started popping up on your Facebook. So my question here is, are they ones from the previous dives, or have you actually got wet this year?
No, well, what I did was I actually, the Clasina was a bit of it was a big step for me.
Yeah.
And so for a year, I concentrated just on the boat. And then the pandemic hit, of course, which made things even shitter. But I'd actually set aside my diving for a while. So I think without being too arrogant about it, I got to quite a good level with my diving. Like I was quite honed with, I was diving inspo in a couple of stages, and more importantly, camera. So I got to the point where I was jumping in the water, hitting the bottom, and I always think the time to take a first photo is indicative of how kind of on the ball you are. So I'd normally get to the bottom, say something on the margraph, takes you 2 minutes to get to the bottom, bang, within 3 minutes you start taking photos, and then you're kind of in the zone. And then bought the Clasina, and all that kind of fell by the wayside. And it took me a long time to get everything running. And the really important thing to me is not to leave the boat with any kind of glitches or anything that's going to trip up anybody that's on driving it. So I need to sort out all those niggles. When I jump off the boat, I need to know that I've kind of given someone something that's working, that is doing what it should do. And we kind of got to that point at the back end of last year. So I started jumping in and swimming in the sea again. And it was nice. And I realized how much I'd regressed. So at that point about where you take your first photo, you're like, fuck me, I've got a fucking 20 minutes speaker yet. I haven't even taken the photo. And it utter shit that you're taking pictures of. It's just like your thumbs. And it's like, why isn't it working? You're just like, I'm just a complete idiot down here. But I mean, you're on an accelerated thing. So I think actually what you just got to do, it's a game of numbers, isn't it? Like if you take 1,000 photos, one will be good. So if you take 10,000 photos, 10 are good. And it's just a law of averages sometimes. But you've got to get in. You've got to take those 10,000 photos, you know what I mean, or whatever, how many you do. And then you just pick one that's half decent.
I find, because I've been diving less and less towards the latter end of this year. That's why I didn't bring my camera set with me to you. I just brought my GoPro. I haven't been with it. I invested all this money in a big Nauticam housing and everything early on in the year, and then just haven't dived it. So why ruin that fabulous diving that I was going to have, trying to take photographs and losing my buddy because I'm not watching for them, and all the other stuff that could go wrong? You've got to be on it constantly, haven't you? Like it's like put it down to like a language. Someone was saying the other day, or whether it be rebreather diving, the same. You've got to be on it all the time and focused on it and not on anything else. And that was some of the deepest diving I'd done for a year or so. Not just, on that unit, but, I'd not been up there, not dived Scapa much. It was with Ali, who I wanted to be very concerned about and so on. So it was just so much going on. Why bring my camera and struggle with that then?
I think the trick with it is you've always got to let something happen. You know what I mean? When you're taking pictures, you've got to let something happen. Otherwise, what have you got a picture of? Yeah. And I think if you're the thing that's happening, you can't. There's no picture, is there? So once you're on the ball and you're ready, and then just have a little look around. Something will do its thing. And you're just like, I'll just take a picture of that. But you've got to be thinking. Sorry.
Do you remember when we come back? I forget which dive it's. You'll know, but I come back and they were all talking about this searchlight. Has everyone seen the searchlight? And it's still there. The bulb's still in the frame, and I'm like, nah. And I'm to be fair, in my head, my mind's eye was saying it was going to be like the kind of light you get on the top of a lighthouse, a big.
I think it's something Batman.
Yeah, something like that. Outside of the movies back in the early 1900s.
Movie premiere with these things in the sky.
So then I go home, produce this 10-minute video of what it's like to go diving up in Scapa Flow. And sure enough, you and Ben straight away, look at you idiot, you saw it, it's there on your video. And all it is what a mechanic hangs underneath his bonnet lid, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, dickhead.
Yeah.
But you miss so much. That's what another reason why I didn't want to bring it, because if you're going to go and dive these wrecks, which are, world renowned, it's everybody's bucket list as such, isn't it? I didn't want to miss much, but I've clearly missed it just by trying to go through my GoPro and not kick up hot silt everywhere.
I think if you ever lose interest in Scapa Flow, you might as well hang up your fins, because it's just that, like, you can dive it for once, and if you take the Crown Prince, for example, most people come up, and I'll give a reasonable briefing, and they come up after walking and say, do you see this? And everyone's like, no, I've seen that. Do you see this? No. See 12-inch guns. And like, these are like pretty big guns. The whole reason we came to Scapa. Do you see them? No, never seen those again. And you're like, what the fuck, where have you been? You know what I mean? That's just life at 38 meters, swimming around in the dark. Don't know where I am, a bit knocked. And look, the fish. And they're like, it's that Finding Nemo thing, isn't it? Keep on swimming, and everyone's like that. But actually, like that's the dive, that's dive one Scapa on the conference. And then like here's me having about 20 years later, and like I haven't done the most amount of diving. Like there's people that know fuckloads more than me. But and like there's still interesting stuff, and there's still details, and there's still bits, and you go, no, I never knew that. And it's just fascinating. And I think that's the beauty of the other thing with photography. Like, not only do I like my own photography, but I like everybody else's photography as well, because it's like looking at the world through someone else's eyes. And you look at it and you're like, what are they taking a picture of here? Because like, there's a 12-inch gun, and they're taking a little Bryzone on it. It's a little on the end of the barrel. There's this like, yeah, I've never seen that before. And like, it may not be interesting to everyone, but it's another aspect of what's down there. And you just, if you don't keep looking and keep seeing and keep exploring that stuff, you just
I'm just thinking while we're talking about Scapa, there might be someone, whether it be the other side of the world or someone who's really new to diving, that's never heard of Scapa or Scapa Flow or the history of it. So would you mind indulging me? Just give us a brief synopsis of why we come diving there, because
it's pretty simple, really. End of the First World War, the entire German Navy sunk in Scapa Flow. Most of them are salvaged, but you're left with 7 major ships, 3 battleships, all Koenig class, 4 cruisers. That's a really glib explanation, but all in kind of, suppose what are they, 35 for the cruisers and 40s for the battleships. So if you imagine an entire arms race lying on a seabed in kind of social terms, in kind of the historical terms, that's what the importance of Scapa Flow is. And then you're kind of swimming around trying to look for a 12-inch gun, thinking, everyone's told me it's meant to be stupendous and enormous and the most important destination. I've just flown all the way around the world, and all I can see is a fish. It is an important place. It will always rank as historically important. The wrecks are second to none. But there you go. I'm also selling drugs, like come diving with me. Stick it up your nose and breathe deeply. Scapa's the best place ever.
I tell you what, you're always trying to sell to me is the use of helium and the importance of it. You always say that should be the aim with diving a rebreather, is to go on helium. Am I right with that?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that bit where we started a minute ago. It's about awareness and seeing the world around you. And I think it's one of the paradigms that's changed, certainly since when I started diving. And like I was listening to that podcast you did with Rich, for example, and that, like Rich and all the gooey lot. They were like, I remember them coming on the thing, I've done 21:35. And I'm like, you're going 35 meters, you bellends. What do you want fucking helium for? And they're like, and then when you're down there, I was there one day with this camera. I couldn't get it to work. And they're like, I got to the surface, I realized it's just switching it on and off. And you think, why am I doing that? Like, obviously I'm a photographic genius and I can't even turn the camera on and off. And you just realize that fuzziness, it's so insidious. But it's about that kind of, it's awareness, it's that understanding of the world you're in. It's about reducing some of that anxiety. So, like, everyone talks about the screaming wawa. So Ben used to go down and, like, you remember, he like swim around. He used to go and get knocked, like it was some kind of, like, I don't know, he's back in Koh Samui on those wacko directionals. And you're like, it's not really what diving's about. Like, oh, well and good if that's what you want to do. But actually, you kind of want to be calm. You don't want to be anxious. You want to be in control. You don't want your head with the screaming wawa. So just a little bit of helium works. But like, I mean, helium's brutally expensive, so I wouldn't be probably open circuit helium's probably had its day. But like, if you've got a rebreather, I mean, it's lovely stuff. Obviously, you get bent on it as well, but that's another story.
Well, I remember them talking about it. Anyway, I heard them talking about it. I said, "What are you on about?" And they said they were talking about helium. So then we started chatting, and there was a discussion about we were doing a deeper dive, and maybe I should put some helium in the mix to reduce the gas density. And they were all saying, "This is what you need to do on your ascent. You need to do it like this, and you're going to get more deco, but don't worry," and blah blah blah. So when I got out of the water, and whoever was, it might have been you, it might be Steve, might have been Paul, I can't remember. Someone came over, so how was that? I'm like, no different. It's like, just the same. Don't remember anything anyway.
Yeah, well, I think that's a really important thing. So like, it's that, we put in helium in, and you're like, what's everyone talking about? Like, it's meant to be like going through this wardrobe into Narnia where everything's like all sparkly and fresh and got a
Yeah.
snow scene. You walk through and it's like brilliant again. But actually, like, you're a bit like, oh, it's just the same shit. Just, I don't know. But actually, you notice it when you go the other way. So, like, go and do that dive again on air and you're swimming along with this fog in your head going,
Yeah.
I don't really know what I'm doing. So, yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not this magic wand that's suddenly going to make you like, I don't know, give you 20/20 vision at 30 meters. But equally, it's like, it's an important tool. And I think we're also kind of going down a bit of a rabbit hole where you can kind of talk about all the kind of details of diving, and like much of it's a load of wanky bollocks. You know what I mean? Like all like, because you start off with helium, and then like you kind of put it in your rebreather. You think, well, I might as well go all the way to 100%, max out my helium because it's so great. And then like you're looking at, I've got no time left on my deco. You know what I mean? I have to suddenly go, yeah, doof. I've got like 3 hours. And I've only been down here 10 minutes. What's happened? So I think like you got to kind of resonate in this world, like just the details. Sometimes everyone kind of like that's the conversation around the dinner table. Hey, what steel do you have? I thought, I don't really know. It's not unbelievably important. Kind of just enjoy the world. You know what I mean? Just give yourself the tools to see down there. And I think that's
Talking about that clarity of mind and photography and stuff. Clearly, you run a dive operation that's based out of like wreck diving mecca or one of them, but your photographs tend to be the other end. They tend to be more marine life. What's your kind of diving?
I like the range and diversity. I think anyone that comes into this world can choose anything. So, like, if you look around that table, for example, you look around the table and you look at the lads around there and the ladies too. They've all brought something to the table. So we're all divers second. We have this world, we have this life, and everyone brings their interest. There's engineers, there's teachers, there's nurses, there's everything, and everyone could find something of interest underwater. And I think that's the point about it all. Like I've got a general interest. I'm not a particularly shipwrecky kind of person, but you know, like I like a good shipwreck. I know what triple expansion is, but I've only learned that because I've been diving. Like if I've been a mountaineer, I probably would have, I don't know, looked at snow formations or something. But it's just that it's that interest down there, and then when you swim around, it's just a nice place to be, and then you just kind of learn a bit more about it, and then you know, like go back to what you said about Sewell and North Rona. You learn a bit about the heritage of these things, and I think there's some things that come through. So I think there's an overriding importance now just to like we've got this environment, this world that's important, but it's also precious, and we also got to look after it. And I think we've also kind of got this heritage that we've kind of built our lives upon, and it goes back. And you think like Scapa Flow is of historical importance, and you don't see that when you first arrive in Scapa. You just want to see a 12-inch gun that sort of fire a shell for 15 miles, and everyone's like, "Yeah, war!" But actually, like you know, when they went to Scotland, there was a couple of those battleships blew up, 2,000 men gone, and you know we send our kids to war. And you've been in that army, you know, it's 20-year-olds dead. And that's my daughter, you know, and that's my daughter's age. Imagine 2,000 of them just extinguished in a second. And I think there's some sobering thoughts that kind of come to you as your diving career goes. And it's like, there's importance in here, and there's a reason for kind of the world the way it is. And we have to kind of turn it around and make sure we're these custodians, and we kind of have to pass that baton on of that's what the importance is, the reasons, so all those mechanisms, we've got to pass it on.
Do you think it's a shame that the amount of sort of pillaging and salvage that went on back in the day when it was kind of cool?
And I think, well, there's a bit of me that's like, we're all poachers, some gamekeepers here, so let's not get too puritanical about it. You know what I mean? There was a while about a decade ago looking around at a couple of brass things that I shouldn't have had, and you kind of think, oh, I can either polish them or I can move them on. You know what I mean? And I think actually, like, there was a different time. So, like, when I started diving, it was very much working class lads, and that was kind of what you did. You know, you jumped in the water, bashed something off, sold your brass. I don't think that paradigm's acceptable anymore, and certainly I run a no spidge boat. But that's not out of the sense of kind of holy or thou-ness. It's just like if you went to take your car into the garage, you don't take all the mechanics spanners home with you, do you? You know what I mean? It's one of them. You want to leave it there, you want to protect it. And I think once you kind of realise the value of the heritage is actually I just think it's best left alone. Just don't touch it, leave it. So, yeah, I'm not there to just say don't do it. I'm just saying, here's my example. If you want to come on the boat, follow my example. If you want to do it, go and have your own argument somewhere else. But here's the example I set. I try and lead by showcasing why the importance it is. And yeah, I mean, I like to think I've turned a few heads in my time.
Cool. What's the crack with the museum reopening? Any news on that?
Not too far away, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah. It was nice to get, at least we pulled up for the day. Well, I think we had lunch. We stopped for lunch, didn't we, on the jetty there, the pier, and see the guns and stuff that are outside. But shame it wasn't open because
I
added
always liked it. It's a great thing to wander around. I think it's a good. Like I just going to Lioness is good. You know, just did you get up to Wi-Fi when you were there? All that kind of stuff.
No, I don't think we did.
The command center, you just wander around to like.
Oh, that's up on the hill, isn't it? The big sort of building. No, I was too lazy, me.
Oh yeah, there you go. Shame on you. But I think part of that is like you just look around. I reckon that's probably been some of the most precarious times in some people's lives. You know what I mean? You're there, you got over 20,000 Wrens or whatever, suddenly pitch up into this camp with all these soldiers and sailors. I mean, it must have been incredible. It's just what I like. You go from some parochial backwater, it's me being patronising, obviously, but then suddenly you're out there going, look at that, all these Wrens, off we go. But equally, the next day you could be dead. You know what I mean? It's like you just try and get your head around that. You can't really, but some of it kind of is infused in the environment. But yeah,
even like you said, I've kind of got that experience. I did go out to Afghanistan, and it was kind of as it was getting really bad to the middle back end of 2008. But I still can't comprehend the world, or at least most of Europe, being at war and a war zone as such. You know, it's just beyond me that I can't get it.
Well, I just imagine. I've never been in your shoes, but I imagine the first time a bullet whizzed over your head. I bet that's pretty exciting. I bet your heart's fucking going 9 to the dozen with that. I bet you've never lived that again. Like sitting in your office there, wondering, like, you just got, you know what I mean? I bet you never had that emotion again.
No,
you know what I mean? And your mate next year, he's sort of fucking hell. That was close. And like, it is I've never known that, but like the folk like you, I mean, it's an impressive lives you've had in the background, those experiences.
It's just my life, isn't it? So for me, when anyone says, "Oh, you've done something quite cool," there, I'm like, "Yeah, it was all right."
But I think that's the other thing. Like we send our kids to war, but equally, like when they go, they don't have the context to put it in. So it probably takes an old boring old bastard like me to go. Actually, like that's really important. You know, there's something significant, and that kind of. I suppose there's a big thank you as well at the end of the day, and you can put it into context.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit kind of bit wanky bollocks again. Move on. Ask me about fish.
So what's on the horizon? What have you got planned for this year?
This year is Norway gearing back up again. So that'll be a big one to kind of navigate those kind of international travel kind of restrictions. So if I can do that, that's me kind of back on
normal sort of running.
No, what I've got is I bought the Clasina. The Clasina's a 10-year hurrah. So I bought it when I was 50. I'll sell it when I'm 60, and I'll never go to sea again. So
really?
I'm 2 years behind at the moment. You know, I'm begrudged coronavirus. It's robbing me of 2 years of a grand plan. So if I'm 62 and I'm still at a boat, you know what I mean? I've got an excuse. But 63, you can come. Oi, Bob, what are you doing? Should be in the garden pruning roses. So if I can kind of get that Norway thing working again, I want to go around Nordkapp, which is the top end of Norway, the very top. I'd like to do Narvik. I'd like to do some of the stuff in the Photogrammetry Islands. I'd like to be working out of Tiburon at some point, however you say it, in Denmark, doing some like Jutland stuff, which you just talked about. So it was a boat to do those destinations, really. So hopefully we'll, this will be the first step towards it. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
Are you making any changes to her? Because you had talked about it, hadn't you? You know, like the seating area in the galley. You talked about maybe making some logistic changes in them rooms and stuff. Was it? Are you going to bother?
Yeah. Well, this window's gone in the back now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Not messing about.
Well, I think my point at the moment is I've got a working boat, and it works. So I just like to buy the boat and to get it up and running. Like I I bet the farm. You know what I mean? So now like I'm kind of back on a plateau, and I'll just do things incrementally. So I mean, like at the end of the day, it's a business, and you've got clientele that want to do stuff, and you've got to kind of honor and respect all those. Like people give you good money, you know what I mean? And you've got to value that money and spend it wisely. So each one of those incremental steps gives them a better holiday. So there's kind of there's weighing that in the mix as well.
Are you fully booked for this year?
I
know you post like updates and your sort of thing on Facebook. You know, saying I've got. That's how we got on the last trip, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But are you looking quite a good forecast for this year then?
Touch wood, like there's something in the diary every week, but we're just in an uncertain world at the moment. So, like, I have quite a lot of people asking me for stuff, and you're just like, well, there's no holes at the moment, but the world's up in air, you know what I mean? So, I'll just try and post stuff out.
Yeah.
People think I'm being evasive, but actually, like at the moment, if there's a space, I'm banging it out. And what I try and do is like, I like the mechanism. An organizer takes a group, for example. And you try and put people with the organizer that kind of facilitate that group to kind of do the ambition of what they want to do. So, I think. Well, the spaces are online or on Facebook. You know what I mean? It's just there'll be a smiley picture and a bit of sarcasm, and you can book a place. Happy days.
Yeah. Do you ever? This is my last question then. Does anybody ever come to you? Me tease on. Hurry up and answer this.
You got bored, have you?
Yeah, that's it. Does anybody ever come to you? This isn't leading anywhere. This is just a thought I had earlier. Does anyone come to you saying, I want to run an expedition to X, Y, and Z and cover these 2 or 3 particular sites that might not be on your normal itinerary?
Yeah, well, that's the most exciting stuff. So if you think about, like, with a 10-year plan, I have people that have said to me, let's go somewhere. And I've got some big destinations on them, and we're trying to work through the logistics of doing those things with those people. And you're like, yeah, I mean, that's entirely what drives the boat. You know, all that is the primary reason. So somebody comes and says, oh, do you want to do this? And you're like, oh, fuck, I don't know if I can pull that one off. So someone said, do we want to go to the Faroes one time? And I was like, oh, that was a big one. You know what I mean? The Faroes, that's like, there be dragons. And you're like, oh, fuck, I'm not sure about that one. Anyway, like, at the end of the summer, you're like, fucking pulled it off. And you're like, yeah, I done it. Like, but then you kind of like, oh, where will we go next? And they go, oh, do you want to go here? And like, oh, that's a big one, that one. And say, oh, I appreciate it. So you go there. And you're like, and then you need a bigger boat. And then someone asks you, oh, do you want to go here? And you're like, oh, that's a big one. Before you know it, you're kind of in Roger Ampat or something, sitting in the sun, go, oh, it's maybe a bit far.
Jeez, that'd be good though, wouldn't it?
What, Roger Ampat?
Well, thanks for coming on, mate. I appreciate it.
No bother.
It's been kind of fun catching up.
Hopefully you make something out of it anyway.
We'll see.
I listened to Rich's one just as a kind of a preamble. I was just driving, and you know when you put it on in the car and you think, I'll say this.
Which one was it?
We've only done one with Rich, have you not?
No, I've done 2. So he did one at the beginning of last season. So early last year, he was at Cape and Ray teaching a GUE course. And then the year before, he was talking about ghost fishing and how they had some fundraising thing going on. He had the same thing this winter, that if he raises £5,000, someone else will give him another £5,000 as well. But this year they tried to get 20 grand. I don't know if they did or not. So if it was all about GUE, it was probably about that then.
Don't mind now.
So you don't know which one it is?
No,
you didn't listen to it that much then?
I did listen to it.
We just forgot.
Well, it's Rich, isn't it? You just let it go over your head after that.
Yeah, fair one.
You've got another 30 miles to go.
Well, fingers crossed I'll see you again this year. And
just keep in touch. Fucking come up with it anytime you want.
Yeah, mega mate. All right.
Yeah.
Well, if you've got any crew dramas, I hope they get sorted. And I'll put all the details to who you are, what you are, and that. So if people want to get in touch and follow you on Facebook, get a free, not a free pass, get a free place. That's what I meant to say. As in, they're going to pay for it, but it's free because there's no one on it. I'm going to have to edit this out. Right, thanks, Bob. Thanks for coming. See you later. Cheers, buddy.
Adios, Scooper. Bye.
So that brings us to the end of the episode, and I hope you've enjoyed this week's guest enough to subscribe to the Fancy a Brew podcast and leave us a 5-star review wherever you download your podcasts. Don't forget to take a look at Dive Life's website and social media channels, as they always have some great deals available, and you can use promo code ATND10 at the checkout to get some money off any non-discounted items. For more information on this episode, take a look at the description or follow us on Instagram for all the latest news and upcoming releases. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next one.